What's up, everybody? It's your girl Erica from the Classy Climb blog. If you're trying to figure out who this is Erica Williams of the Classy Climb blog, smartphone millionaire author, how to invest to real estate, people, and you name it, land from the palm of your hand. I have also bought on a fellow author, but AKA Mr. Dr. Meadows, AKA author, AKA big time investor. Please introduce
Yeah,
your.
I'm trying to find my book to put on screen.
Uh-oh,
Oh, it's
you
all
gotta be
good.
ready.
Hey
um,
everybody, Dr. Kenyon Meadows, oncologist, author, investor, and just general friend to the Classy Climb blog. If you guys have been following, I think this is the third time I've been on, maybe, I believe. So hopefully this is a return visit for most of y'all. I'm thankful to Erica and some of the other YouTubers who let me borrow their audience to share some of my thoughts about investing and life in general. Avid reader, and tonight we're going to do something a little different in that we're not necessarily plugging my book. We're going to talk about another book though that I think is a useful thing for all of us. As we know, you got to be a voracious reader if you're going to be a leader.
hey, readers are leaders. Not all readers are leaders, but most leaders are readers.
Yeah, they say the average CEO of like a Fortune 500 company consumes the equivalent of about 60 books a year. So once I heard that statistic, I had to figure out ways to do that. So audiobooks are big for me. So yeah, but this one I read this one and bought the physical copy because this is one to stay in the library we're talking about tonight.
Oh, for sure, for sure. So if everybody can see in the comment section, I asked if you could, as you come in, please put your city and state. It helps us greatly figure out the demographics where you guys are at. If we ever do public meetups, if there's like ways for us to do different things, we can be. It helps us greatly. Um, I'm sorry, Erica Nicole. I heard the storms down there, and we got Baton Rouge. Okay, Erica Nicole, you're in ATL. You're safe. Good. As you
Yeah.
guys know, the storm's coming through again to the
Yes.
Southeast region. And I think now more than ever, these conversations we're having are so important because when I'm talking about ownership and owning multiple properties, some people are losing everything they have in
Yeah.
one house. And then when you talk to them, they barely have insurance, they barely have anything else to sustain them. And that's why I think these conversations are so important.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely.
Okay, what's up, Clayton, North Carolina? We got Chicago in here, New Jersey, New Orleans. Let's get it. We've got West Palm Beach, Florida. Hope you're doing okay. New York, New York. We got Farmington Hills, Houston, Texas, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Be safe down there, Florida.
Yeah. Yes.
Baton Rouge, Columbus, Ohio, and Montgomery, Alabama. Thank you guys for participating. It just does great. It really does help us figure out topics and things to help for the channel. So Columbia, South Carolina's in here. Be safe, Columbia. I'm watching you. Dallas, Texas, Chris Lee TV. Man, that's a good dude coming in. Philly, San Antonio, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Arlington, Texas, Atlanta, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Okay. All right. So you guys just keep coming in, and that just helps the channel so much. And it helps us craft good content for you guys. So Dr. Meadows, you're going to hit us with something different tonight. You got something new.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is, don't get me wrong. I mean, I love to get granular and detailed on specific investments and everything, but this is kind of more of like a mindset and attitude type of topic tonight. Um, we're all about wealth building and community building, ownership, and everything like that. And to just keep it real, right? I mean, there are ethnic groups in this country that do it a heck of a lot better than Black folks. Now, we know, and I never want to dismiss the big hand on the scale against us with, our legacy of where we came from, slavery, Jim Crow, and all that. So, I never want to poo-poo that. But at the same token, I think if we're honest about it, we got some attitudes and behaviors also in our community that we could stand to change, right? And so one of the things that struck me about this book we're going to be talking about tonight, it's called The Jewish Phenomenon. Okay. And the subtitle of the book is The 7 Keys to the Enduring Wealth of a People. And I think we can all acknowledge, without going into the realm of anti-Semitism or anything like that, that when it comes to money and wealth and everything, not too many people do it better than Jewish folks in America. Okay.
Mhm.
And they got it, they've got it kind of locked down. And this book was given to me a few years ago by one of my Asian buddies who owns a business and everything. And he's like, hey man, just check this out. I just think it'd be right down your alley. And so I read it, and I've recently come back around and reread it. And I just thought like, hey, this might actually be a good topic to share with Erica's audience here. So as usual, I have a few slides, and I'm gonna
We love the slides here. We love it.
transition to that. Let me just do this screen share business here and make sure everybody can see it. Let's see, screen share, application window. Okay, there we go. All right, how's that looking?
Let's see. For everybody here also too, it's 71 people in here. Let's get these likes up.
Yeah.
Let me make sure you're presenting to everyone. Hold on a second.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and talk one more time. Let me see.
Yeah. Okay. Is it popping up?
There we go. Yeah. So I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
pinpoint it on you.
Okay.
Should work.
All right.
Present to everyone. This
Okay.
should be good now.
Okay, great. So this book was written by this Jewish gentleman named Steven Silberger. The first version, I think, came out around 2000, and a re-edition in 2009, which is the one that I have. And what I want to do is review some of the key attitudes and behaviors that have contributed to Jewish folks having this outsized success in wealth building. Okay. When you look at the sheer number of Jewish folks in the United States, the numbers are somewhere between maybe 2 and 3% of the population. But when you look at things like the Forbes 400 lists or millionaires and all that, they generally occupy about 25% of the folks that are very wealthy in this country. And so, that is not by accident. Okay. And again, while we recognize that we have some unique challenges historically and based off race in this country, my question was, can Black people, either on an individual level or hopefully collectively one day, model some of these attitudes and behaviors so that we could get some of the same results? Okay. So what I have here is just basically a series of some page captures from the book, and that just highlight a few things. And I'd like to have a lot of discussion. Hopefully, if I'm talking for more than 2 minutes at a time or something like that, that's a problem. So hopefully Erica will pop in, and hopefully she'll be looking at the folks in the chat that have some questions, so we can have a conversation here. Okay. So to jump,
definitely will. I definitely
yeah, to jump right to one of the main points right off the bat. Okay. And this was like in the first chapter here. Who are viewed as successful people in general in the Jewish community? Okay. And it's professionals and entrepreneurs. Okay. And the capture from this page here says doctor, lawyer, businessman. That's the commonly heard refrain among Jewish people deciding an occupation. Okay. And then skipping a little bit down to the middle of the paragraph, both paths lead to higher than average income and a greater potential for wealth accumulation. Okay. In fact, it seems that a young Jewish person's choice is not whether to follow a professional or a business path, but which path to pursue. Okay. I'm going on to the next thing here. Now, some of the statistics he quotes are a little old, like I said, kind of from the first edition of the book, but nonetheless, these trends are the same. So by the middle of the 20th century, 20% of Jewish males were professionals. So that was like twice the national average. And 35% of them were business owners, which was 3 times the national average. Okay. And a vast majority of Jewish guys were white collar folks with higher income potential. Okay. And this was even going on in a time in America when the blue collar job, the factory job that we so idolize and wish could come back, even back then, they were avoiding those types of things. Okay, and so by 1970, it says a scant 1% of American Jews were manual laborers. Okay, so in their community, and I've read other source material that basically has a disdain almost for manual labor and the kind of non-scalable work. Whereas in the kind of more Protestant and Christian work ethic, you know, going to the factory with your lunch pail and putting in a hard day and, kind of breaking your back, that was viewed as, something to be emulated and proud of. And they don't view it that way, basically. Okay. So that was kind of a little bit of an eye opener for me again, this is an attitude thing that translates directly into what kind of behavior they go to. Okay. And why the entrepreneurial thing? Okay. Well, it says here that there's the entrepreneurial spirit burns really strongly in the Jewish community. Okay. And they're saying it's not really separate from these professions like medicine, law, accounting, because in essence, those are small independent businesses lots of times anyway. So there's a lot of crossover. Okay. Now I'm gonna skip down to this last highlighted thing here. What Jewish experiences give rise to entrepreneurship? And I think this has a direct tie-in to the Black experience. It says here, the common theme here is the feeling of being an outsider. Running your own business appeals to individuals who want to control their own destinies and don't want to be subject to the white bigotry of an employer. Okay. Also, a lot of traditional job opportunities were not available for Jews generations ago, so it was imperative that they find another path. Jews shut out of traditional old-line industries of insurance, automobiles, steel, coal, chemicals, and heavy machinery. And earlier in the century, most insurance companies would not even issue policies to businesses if they were Jewish. So, number one, while not an exact parallel to being a chattel slave and having Jim Crow go on, but one common theme is, Jewish folks have endured, a lot of anti-Semitism. They've been kicked out of a lot of countries. Of course, about the Holocaust and everything. And heck, if you want to take it all the way back biblical, I mean, being subjugated by the Egyptians and stuff like that and being in captivity. So they have a long history of being treated not so great as well. And one of their responses was to have this very, very strong entrepreneurial pull, right? And so when you look at the employment statistics, say for instance of Black Americans and Black males, I mean, in some cities like the Milwaukees and Clevelands of the world and some of these old Rust Belt kind of things, I mean, the unemployment rate for Black men, even ones that haven't been to jail, it's like 40%, 30%. I mean, it's crazy, right? So we ought to be the most entrepreneurial, hustling people in the world, right? And we ought to always be looking to try to spend money with somebody else that looks like us as part of the remedy for our outsider status. Okay. Erica, what do you think about that?
Sorry, I was muted.
Okay.
I just listen. As soon as you said this, I was like, perfect. I've been trying to figure out a way to tie this into my channel, because here's my thing too. I think African Americans are underreporting. Does that make sense?
Underreporting what?
Underreporting that they own a business or own a side hustle or own a something on the side. I think they are kind of underreporting it, which I think, I'm trying to think of a way to say it nicely. I think to some degree, it's like go under the radar, fly under the radar. Don't want anybody to know I'm just doing this thing on the side, or this is just my little side hustle, when they should be documenting it. I think more people need to be documenting it, right? Because if you do the numbers, it's 1 in 10 Asians own a business on paper, 1 in 34 whites, 1 in 54 Hispanics, and 1 in 108 Blacks. And I think there's more, Uber drivers and guys out there doing some side work. They're just not properly registering themselves. So I think that's part of it too, right? Because in Chicago, it was like 50% Black male unemployment. I was like, how? Chicago is full of like different opportunities to work somewhere. I just couldn't believe that. But what I like about what all the facts are saying from the Jewish phenomenon, and even if you look at the Middle Eastern culture, there's a guy who's a very popular public speaker that he's getting booed because he goes, if you work for someone else, you are a slave. He's like, you are not is that your dad? Is he in control of your life? And he's wearing his full, the head scarf, Dubai, and the white. And like, I think he offends people, but people pay to go see him, and that should be our culture. Like, I'm going to have something that I can sell to someone else.
Right. Well, I think your point about underreporting is probably right for a variety of reasons. I mean, we all know that there is I heard somebody refer to it as kind of like the hood economy amongst, like, say, for instance, like people who are, maybe they're on Section 8 or they're getting government assistance, but they're doing other stuff on the side, hair, nails, that kind of stuff for sure. I'm sure the fellows are doing the same thing. But I think there's also, though, the fact that when you look at how employment opportunities are doled out, we know that employment opportunities often come through social networks. And that's why, somebody's kid who's kind of an F up or whatever, he can get a job over somebody that's qualified that might be a minority, simply because they're part of the network, right? And so, I think, for instance, like the Jewish folks would say, yeah, like we've endured so much bigotry and anti-Semitism over the years. We have no illusions about getting the same opportunity to work in somebody else's stuff that somebody else would. So we're gonna do it our own. And that's the part where I'm like, we need to have a lot more of that. We ought to be more fervent about it than they are, to be honest with you.
Oh, for sure.
And so
the comment section is going crazy. Thank you, O'Shea Jackson, for the $50 Polish money. Shout out to Doc and Erica. Nice. Thank you for that. Nice. I mean, I really do. I think it is they're going crazy over there. So we're going to address some of y'all, but I don't want him to break up his presentation too much. But what I think is unique about what you said is there was an Adam Carolla. I don't know if anybody knows who this is. He used to be really big. He used to have a show at night with him and Dr. I forgot the guy's name. But Adam Carolla got on a show with Ben Shapiro. And he was talking, and his last name is Jewish last name, Adam Carolla, right? That's not his full name. But anyway, so he's at a job site moving dirt, and they're like, are you Jewish? Like, you're Jewish out here? He's like, yeah, but I come from a single parent mom who lived in the projects. Like, how? You're Jewish? And he was like, oh, well, my parents got to, like, he kept giving all these scenarios because nobody could believe this Jewish guy was out here at the construction site. And what ended up happening is the whole time he was at the construction site, all he could think about doing was trying to own like a small construction company. That's all he could think of doing. He's like, if I just own a construction company, I can get these guys to work for me. And then da da da. And like he said, when you mention other people, they'd be like, why are you even thinking about that? Right? Like, but he said every day he'd be out in the sun going, why am I doing this? I could actually just have a construction company and pay guys to work underneath me. And then like, I can do this. And even in the conversation we're having, he's Jewish and he's thinking about already, instead of me being out inside in the sun, moving dirt back and forth, I can pay other guys to do this.
Absolutely.
Have my own company.
Oh yeah.
So
absolutely.
It was just interesting, even in the scenario what we're talking about. So you can kick back in. Like, there's so many comments that I'm gonna let you go ahead and finish more of your broadcast. You guys keep commenting. I mean, we're gonna go over your comments.
We're gonna go back over.
I like want to have a flow of his what he's sharing. So.
Okay, let me get back to the screen share here. Application window. Okay. All right. Are we back?
Yes, you should be presenting.
Okay. All right. Everybody can see. All right. So
put a 1 in the comments if everybody can see him. You should be seeing him completely.
So
screen.
Everybody on here can certainly recognize all these people, right? So when you talk about the pinnacle of success in the African American community, right? I don't think anybody can argue that we view the athlete and the entertainer with the same sort of esteem that I think the Jewish community holds out its entrepreneurs and professionals, right? And what that's problematic in and of itself, right? Because what often winds up happening, and probably Kaepernick is probably the best example, is like, because we admire these people so much, we expect them to take up the mantle and do things in other arenas such as politics, social justice, maybe even economic stuff, that, to be quite honest with you, is not an expectation out of other people in the community, right? Um, how many times have we heard that people say, like, when you look at some ill in the Black community, well, what if all the athletes could pool their money together and do X, Y, Z?
Oh,
Or,
it drives
or,
me
or,
crazy.
or why isn't such and such, speaking up on certain issues because he's got a platform? And honestly, I used in an earlier version of me, I used to kind of buy into that, but now when I realize the type of number one, you've got to kind of you've got to want to be involved in that kind of stuff. You've got to have a knowledge to do it, and the athlete or entertainer is probably the least equipped person to delve into these other arenas. Now, if they do it and they can do it well, say like a Kaepernick or a Muhammad Ali or something like that, that's great, right? But that shouldn't be the expectation, you know. And so that's a problem. We would really need to sort of de-emphasize how much we revere athletes and entertainers and replace them with folks that are going to be more about political power, economic power, social power, those kind of things that we need in America. Okay.
Oh well, I don't want to interrupt you, but like
That's
Kobe
okay.
Bryant, like everybody's like, oh, Kobe ought to come back, man. He wasn't that bad. Kobe is making billions of dollars at this point with an investment firm. And everybody's like, oh. And you would think all these men who are just following Kobe to death would go, you know what? I want to learn about that investment firm. But it's not. I don't know what's the problem, but it's like even LeBron, like you can see him with his school and some of the things, investments he's making. It's like, I wish these guys would take all that energy and focus on what they're doing on the side of that, right?
Well,
And a lot of it's the
exactly
Black
right.
Savior Conference. Somebody's already mentioned it. Cam, I see it in the comments strolling up. Yeah, it's the Savior complex. Like someone needs to represent for us. Who can represent for us?
Well,
Um,
and we'll kind of come to that later, right? I mean, yeah, there are folks we ought to be looking to, but it's not these folks, right? It's
right.
really not. So, and like you mentioned too, I find myself, for instance, I played football, including college football. I love sports and everything,
What college?
and
Thank
yeah,
you.
small college, yeah.
Still
Um,
counts.
yeah, and so I grew up loving. Yeah, I grew up in Ohio, so I was a Cavs fan way when I was a kid. So I love what LeBron did and everything. But like you said, as a 40-some-year-old man who's into like business and stuff like that, I have read more about LeBron James investments, including a pizza chain and all this other stuff he's into, and like that's what interests me most about him now, right? But how many people know that about it? Like you mentioned, Kobe. Yeah, he's got basically a hedge fund kind of or a private equity group that he's involved in, making major investments into tech and stuff like that. But that's not popular amongst us, right? That's not going to move the needle from the vast majority of people now that know about Kobe, right? And so that's a problem, right? That's a big, big problem. So anyway.
I was gonna say one comment. I thought I was gonna find it, but I didn't. It's
Mm,
a black woman meme where this guy's like, in like a Kevin on stage did a great job of talking about it, where he's like, these black women. It was a meme. Somebody was making fun of black women, saying black women getting these degrees and going on vacations and buying homes and putting their kids in little league sports. What are they doing for the black community? And I almost broke out laughing. Like Kevin on stage does a great job of mocking this whole meme, but at the end of the day, the point is I'm each one teach one. And
mm,
I'm glad every one of those black women that get a degree, she buys a home, she has her son in a little league sports team, and she's like going on vacations. She's helping the black community. Each one teach one.
mhm.
Each one of those people help. So
Yeah. And and and
interesting.
and besides, kind of our overemphasis on sports, another quote from the book here, right? When it comes to playing sports, it says from a purely economic standpoint, the lack of interest among Jewish people in being professional athletes has been a wise decision. Okay. And they talk about, the very small probability, 0.2%, 0.02% of the population to actually be a highly paid athlete. And when you look about all of the time, energy, and social and family capital that's gone into amateur athletics in the Black community in the hopes that your kid would make it, right? I mean, you know, how many kids honestly weren't good enough or had an injury or got off track and everything? And so these are basically lottery tickets, right? And but that's viewed as a viable way out. And they're saying, look, from a statistical perspective, that's so unlikely that it's not worth our people's time pursuing, basically. And this next paragraph, Jews, although not on the field as players, are influential in managing and owning sports teams. In 2008, all the commissioners of major sports were Jewish. Bud Selig, baseball; Paul Tagliabue, NFL; David Stern, basketball; Gary Bettman, hockey league. And of course, many teams have Jewish owners on the Forbes 400 list. So, we have made we made some strides in ownership with, Michael Jordan, Bob Johnson, that kind of stuff. So that's been good. And there's only so many of those ownership spots to go around. So, but the point is, from the very get-go, Jewish folks weren't sweating athletics. He said that's too much of a crapshoot. We want to own. So, any comment there before we move on?
See, that's the funny part where we're talking about people don't even realize that's where the money is, right? The money is in being able to control in an office, being behind the scenes. And I think somewhat in our culture, because the musician and the rapper and the basketball player are the popular ones, people gravitate toward, I want to be in front. I want to be in front of the camera, not behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And what I love about LeBron James, if you really look behind his whole story, is all these people that were around him. He put them up, he put them up through school. He put them up through, getting training so they could be absolute perfect. I mean, what did they do? Like his friend, that's a management person. His other friend does some kind of marketing company, and that's the real piece of it. When you have a strong, smart friend that's like, nah, just don't come be a groupie around me. Actually come be useful. So I think it's super important, or people are missing out on that. So I see a ton of comments. Dr. Meadows, Charles Ogilvie says your mic is wonderful.
Oh, good. Chris Rock had a joke in his routine a while ago, and he was like, back when Shaquille O'Neal was kind of the top guy in the NBA, he was like, Shaq is rich, really rich, but the guy who writes Shaq's check is wealthy, right? And that's always been the Jewish folks' focus. Where's the wealth at? So yeah. Anyway, we're gonna move on. Okay. Now, do I actually want to go here already? Yeah, I guess we'll go here already. This is controversial. Okay. This is very controversial.
Everybody hold yourself.
I spent a lot of time on O'Shea's channel. I spent a lot of time on some channel.
This is perfect. I'm gonna bring this up too. This is perfect.
Because we talk. I mean, let's just be honest. A lot of Black YouTube is about dating and relationships. A ton.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Too much.
You can make that argument. And inevitably, the topic turns to interracial dating and the pros and cons of it, how to do it. Is it good? Is it bad? Black men's attitudes towards it, Black women's attitude towards it, and everything. And so I think it's interesting in that we all sort of intuitively know that you can't, like, who you date and who you marry and everything, that is not simply an emotional decision. Okay, that's a political and economic decision when you're talking about racial stuff, which is kind of how things are divided here in America. Now, I find it interesting that in the book, okay, this quote here that I got underlined: where anti-Semites have failed, assimilation is succeeding. Okay. And by the mid 1980s, and the trend has continued, more than half of Jewish marriages were to non-Jews. Okay. And Alan Dershowitz, a prominent Jewish Harvard-trained lawyer, he laments that in 1 or 2 generations, the only Jews left will be either very observant Orthodox ones or the assimilated Jews. Jewishness fades into some vague family memory. That is why it's so important to convey to this new generation the definite link between Jewish success and the Jewish culture and traditions discussed in this book. So, all the stuff that they've endured, the anti-Semitism, the Holocaust, this and that, it's like, look, we can handle that. And we have handled that, okay? The thing we can't handle, or the thing that we worry about more than anything, is basically breeding ourselves out of existence into such small numbers that the culture that we have cultivated goes away, right? So
Facts,
so
yes.
so they view cultural/racial mixing as a weakness, okay? And I know some people are going to have a very differing opinion about that, okay? But again, if we're talking about trying to emulate a wealth and power dynamic in a competitive, capitalistic America, having a culture that is preserved, okay, through the family structure, again, they view it as an absolute cornerstone, and this is the thing that could potentially take them out with enough time, is assimilation, okay? So I guess the argument then would be, Black folks aren't going to make similar strides as Jewish folks unless we were to have a more uniform attitude about maintaining our culture. And that means marrying one another, doing business with one another, and all that kind of stuff. And that just seems, so equally kind of unlikely as so much more of this swirling business is promoted and every, you know what I mean? And
Oh, I have a
so,
good one. I have a good one. Don't change the page. Leave it. Go back to leave it there. That's good
okay.
too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Reginald Lewis. Does everybody know? Did anybody see me on Instagram today? I talked about Reginald Lewis. You love his book where he talks about why should white guys have all the fun? And he was married for more than 20, 25 years to his Filipino wife. He had made that $1 billion, sale, all that stuff, Black billionaire. Guess what happened when he died? His wife became the co-founder of the Filipino American Association. Everything she does is to grow the American Filipino businesses, loans, schools. One of her daughters is very activist, very like Angela Davis activist, but even she has a white husband. Both of them have white husbands, both his children. So Reginald Lewis, who was this big, honestly, died too soon.
Yeah,
honestly.
I know him well. Right.
That guy would have been on Forbes list, old Black dude with a cigar.
Yeah.
And his wife, you would think with this giant legacy this man had, would be just promoting it. And it wasn't till the late 80s, like the pro. It wasn't till the late, 2005 or 2006, where his book came back in popularity, that she started promoting his stuff more and more, and also donating more to Black colleges because somebody started saying something. Now he died, 1993? Was it 93?
Yeah, it was 93.
It was 93. I think it was like 2005, 2006. All of a sudden his book was like taking off because people were recommending it. And as a read at Black colleges. And so she started donating. But imagine you doing all this work, building up all this stuff, talking about building Black people up, and you have no sons, you have 2 daughters, both of them marry white, and then your wife becomes the biggest thing known to Filipino Americanism in the United States. Like all that power, all that money went to who? Filipinos.
Right.
In one generation. And it's, excuse me, sorry, hiccups. And since 1994. That's just, it blew my mind, and I was slightly sad for him because if it was my husband, and I know I'm overstating it, I would be just banging the hammer on how great he was. Like, how do I do that? How do I bang the hammer on how great this man was? And honestly, it would be doing stuff for Black people. But again, she puts the money into Filipino culture. So there you go.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, now granted, he died early in his 50s, but men generally die before ladies, and that wealth passes down to the woman and another race. And so again, it's one of those things where, like, viewing who you marry as a political and economic decision in that context, as opposed to just I'm going to do what makes me happy kind of deal. you know, that'd be a new way of thinking about things. So we live in a land of, kind of personal indulgence and not that much view of the community in general. And again, that's not how a lot of top Jewish folks think about things. And
Oh
another
yeah.
thing too, and this is kind of has a tie-in too, right? One of the most wealth destroying events in anybody's life is divorce, right?
Divorce.
So here we go. Stay married if you can. Divorce is very expensive. And I had this highlighted, I thought, but anyway.
I wanted to
Okay, go ahead.
I see you saying divorce. Before you jump in there, I
Hmm.
always have to clarify because I was forced to take a course on this.
Hmm.
That this 50% number they're saying is bunk per se, because really it's 25% for anybody who's college educated over the grand
Okay.
all the now it's even better. Here you go. It's 9% for people who get married for the first time 28 to 32 years old.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then the highest numbers come from what? People getting married 18 to 20.
Right.
So some of that is age. Some of
Well,
that,
right. Yeah,
like,
there's a lot in there, right?
mm-hmm.
Of course, the 50% number is a nice little headline thing that's
Oh, it's a
easy to
nice one.
remember, right? But
Mm-hmm.
but regardless of that, if you kind of take all comers, recognizing that there are some pockets in there that do better, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Jewish divorce rate among Jewish to Jewish married people is only like 12%. Okay, so that's one quarter of the national average.
And they
And
get
that,
married a little bit later
yeah,
after grad
this,
school.
this has given a big boost to the relative household wealth of Jewish families compared to the population. And they talk about a lower divorce rate kind of comes from the fact that because the divorce rate's already low, there's a lot more social pressure to keep the family together. And I thought this was kind of interesting too, also, because they have a higher household income, it provides opportunities for unhappy spouses to divert their attention away from their relationship and pursue other material and social goals. Even in unhappy marriages, spouses tend to stick it out, as Moses did for 40 years in the desert. Anyway.
I was gonna say a comment on that. A comment on say so the audience knows I was engaged once and went through a bunch of
Yeah.
counseling or whatever. And the thing about it is they did a survey of all these women who initiated divorces
Hmm.
and then backed out of it. They were like, okay, why did they initiate and then back out of it? So they went and surveyed all these women. I think it was like 3,000 women, which is not a big enough study, but 3,000 women. And out of the 3,000 women, 90% were like, yeah, time went on and we got happier. Right.
Right.
So I think people are basing this whole life on I have to be happy, 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 happy. And I think that's Instagram. I think
Hmm.
that's Facebook. I think that's social media. I think doing life with people, you're not always happy.
Now,
Right.
let's keep it real too, right? When you have more money too, right? Number
You
one, number one, there,
bigger house.
yeah, yeah, you can afford counseling,
Mm-hmm.
you can afford leisure time,
Mm-hmm.
and to be quite honest with you, there's more even there's more to lose with breaking things up, right?
For sure.
It's a lot easier to get divorced if you guys don't really have much of anything to split. It's like, okay, I can do bad economically and emotionally by myself. You know what I mean? So,
You ever heard be irreplaceable?
huh?
You ever heard the saying be irreplaceable?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
a man, the higher he goes up, the closer a man gets to 100,000 a year, the more irreplaceable he is. Like a lot of divorces happen when people are making lower income. Now, I can
Yeah.
see it two ways. I see if y'all together scrubbing together two pennies, ooh, you can't really leave with the car or afford the apartment, so you're gonna
Yeah.
stay.
You're gonna stay.
Now, on the flip side of that, I've seen some families where mom and dad been married for all these years, military done wore them out, they're tired, but they got these houses together. They got these stuff together. It's like, is it worth breaking up all this to kind
Right.
of
Well,
get away from each other?
and that's the thing, right? I mean, and this speaks to kind of a larger view of marriage, right? I mean, the notion that romance and love and happiness were the cornerstones of marriage, that's a recent Western phenomenon, right?
Recent.
I
Yeah.
mean, for the vast majority of time, marriage has always been this mixture of, yes, love, but also tying together two different families for various
Mm-hmm.
reasons, for business or cultural reasons, social, so there's always been all these other dynamics of marriage that you're supposed to kind of weigh in, when you're talking about going through a divorce. And when more people viewed their marriage in this kind of this larger community and family context, I think that helped people to stay in marriages more so. But we kind of got this, things are much different now in terms of what the priorities are when thinking about a marriage.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
yeah. So
there was a video with P. Diddy, which I'm not taking P. Diddy for any kind of advice, but he was talking and saying that, he want to do what makes him happy. And I was like, you got this, you don't went through all these women, you have all these kids all over the place. Then you got this young girl, Cassie, that's on your arm. And it's almost like you're in your 40s doing something, almost 50 something, acting like someone who's 22. And like, I want to be happy. Like, I just want to be happy. I was just never seen, I don't know where these generation of men and women come from, where it's like all the time, make me happy. And it's like, whoa, this is not a video game. This is life.
And to speak to interracial marriages, right, in terms of this divorce thing, most of the data that I looked at shows a slight but noticeable statistical bump in the divorce rate, with really the worst divorce rates being with Black men and white women. It's noticeably higher. So
what was the funny thing is, on the reverse, the lowest were Black women, white men. Right. And my friend Andrew Clary made a joke, and he said, and it's terrible, don't get mad at me, guys. He was talking about this, and he was like, yeah, that Black woman, if she married that white dude, she's probably just glad to get married. She got and at the time I laughed, but I was like, yeah, people love stability, right? It takes a lot. And
well, women in particular love stability too.
There you go.
For sure.
Men probably want more excitement and women want stability. Let me clarify that.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So again, if the goal is to get and stay married, right, the data would suggest that marrying somebody who you have cultural and racial identity with, it's a great help, because it's not just y'all getting married, it's the families and trying to blend those, and who, you know what I mean? So it's a lot. And so that's a direct tie-in. So hence why they're generally against it in the Jewish community. Okay. Oh, there was my highlighted slide. Okay. Now, this is kind of just a general attitude about wealth and money, right? For Jews, wealth is more than the power to buy things. It is power in and of itself.
Facts.
Money can overcome the prejudices of most bigots, especially in America. Okay. In Great Britain, for instance, ancestry still creates a class-based society that new wealth cannot penetrate. In the United States, money breaks down the barriers faster than any pleadings for help. Think marching outside after a shooting in Chicago or whatever. You know what I mean? If we had our money and politics and power game up, we don't, we don't have to do that so much.
Marching is I did a video, and I know people don't like it, but marching and street protesting is something the poor do. Yeah. They don't have the money to get the attorney. They don't have the money to fight with people. They don't have it's one of those things.
Yeah. Some people do not like Jews, but most will accept their money. And in response to the places where their money was no good, Jews built their own. Can't join your country club, we'll build our own. Can't practice at your hospital, we'll build our own. Money also meant physical safety and survival. Jews over the centuries have used their financial clout to buy special protection from the local power broker, such as the police or king, and to protect themselves from the wrath of anti-Semitism. The Nazi experience was a glaring exception. Jews were unable to buy their freedom and their lives because Nazi anti-Semitism overpowered their greed. But anyway, they're saying in general, if you got money, you can basically pay for your protection and whatnot. And in America, where everything is for sale, I mean, and I know it's maybe kind of a difficult thing to imagine, but it's like, yeah, if our community had our money game right, we could basically buy out the racist cops, the racist DAs, the judges. And I mean, and that just sort of seems like a foreign thing, I guess, for us, but that's the Jewish attitude, right?
Well, it's not even, okay, so here's this thing where you're talking about money, which I agree. I'm 100% on this, but I just want to give, because I know there's people going to be like, what about voting, Erica? What about voting? Now, here's my thing about voting. Our population in comparison to the Hispanic population, other populations, is dwindling. in comparison. Now, I would say on that note, people just register to vote, right? Like a lot of times people say, well, I got selected for jury duty. I got time for this. But who is usually on trial,
Yeah.
right? Who's not getting a fancy lawyer to get it taken, just dismissed before they even get to trial? So a lot of times when I hear people say, a judge in Alabama got in trouble because he was like, there's all white people on this judge. This is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm not going to do this trial. We're going to redo this and find some more diverse people. And they got in trouble down there. Same thing with a judge in Kentucky. They
Mm-hmm.
put him off the bar for a couple of days. And so it's very important to have, one, the professionals within that. Very powerful to have that. And then two, there's a few different comments I was going to add to this. Two, money is power. Like I can tell you right now, I'm in Austin, Texas. And even though Jewish people are like small population, they have a whole like synagogue and it's got security and it's got all this stuff. And they even have a fund. Now, when I worked in the apartment industry as a billings manager, this woman got a check. And I was like, what is this check? This isn't from you. And I went to go process it, and it was from the Jewish nonprofit that was on this site in Austin, Texas. Now, this woman who's 56 years old and she's from New York, she came down to Texas, hurt her back. She could call on the Jewish nonprofit in Austin, Texas, and they paid her rent for 3 months.
That
That
leads
is power.
that leads right into my slide. I wasn't even going to show this slide, but because that point you just made, it just it leads right into it, right? So because they view money in such a powerful thing, and they know the power of helping somebody out monetarily, they have these free loan societies, okay? The creation of Jewish free loan societies, which were originally set up to help new immigrants coming over and whatnot, okay? Because again, America was very much steeped in anti-Semitism for a long time. And so, the notion of getting a loan from a bank and stuff like that, which were, I mean, you read some of the literature from back then, WASP versus Jews, and it's like so they had their own issues. So they basically set up their own lending establishments, right? And there's about 40 of them still in the country, and they still make about $40 million in loans every year, interest free. And local endowments support these societies, exclusively funded by the Jewish community. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it is written in the book of Exodus, if you lend money to my people, to the poor among you, do not act toward them as a creditor, exact no interest from them. These societies exist to make loans to people with no assets and with little or no credit history, and to loan smaller amounts than banks would typically bother with. At the turn of the century, it was a way for recent Jewish immigrants to go into business and to become self-supporting. In New York City, for instance, Jewish peddlers would often use their loans to buy their initial merchandise for their push carts. Today, these loans often go towards down payment on a house or a car or rent, so that a recent Russian immigrant, say, for instance, could get his first job. So that just kind of ties in exactly to what you just said there. Setting up your own, and that's another thing too, right? When I think about some of the big glaring things that are missing in the Black community, if we're really going to get serious economically, it's like, yeah, of course, the attitude change has to be there, but we don't really even have, yeah, we don't have lending institutions that, quite honestly, are outside of the traditional banking system. I've heard people talk about, Black banks and everything, but you got to realize if you set up a traditional bank, whether it's Black or not, it's got a ton of regulations and limitations that it has to do. And so I don't really think a Black traditional bank is the way to go. But you got to have, this world runs on credit and debt. That's our monetary system. So if you ain't got a credit and debt institution that's free to make loans to an underserved community outside of the traditional banking system, you ain't going nowhere. And see, like, we still are at that level economically in this country to like where the Jews were at the turn of the century, right? So we need the equivalent of like these free loan societies right now. And until that gets to be a serious talk, there's only so far we can go. Individual Black people can still do well, but the community ain't going nowhere without some non-traditional financial institutions.
Right. And here's the tough notion on that, is because Well, people always talk about get on code, right? And I laugh about that, even though it's a good saying. I can't even get people who watch my channel for years to get on code about credit.
Mm-hmm.
And Cam just posted it. But, again, Todd Capital, if Charles Ogilvy's still here, Todd Capital Group, Black Seed Group, another Black person. He's Nigerian. The Black Seed Group founder is Nigerian.
Mm-hmm.
And there's alternative groups that are out here investing. But what I see is the top 20% Black people doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see a lot of people, and I get it. A lot of people say, well, Erica, if I start doing all this, my family's going to ask for money and all this other stuff. And I've had coaching clients who I've literally just said, you know what? If you know you have weak boundaries and you can't tell your family no, go make more money. And people are like, Erica. And I'm like, yeah, if you know you got a mom and dad that are going to, for the rest of their lives, be some kind of, I hate to say burden, but going to need your care and help and financially need it, then what can we do to get you better?
Yeah.
What can we do? What can we do? Can we get you 3 to 10 rentals and they don't know about it, but you still can give them money and it won't make you stress out at night and have a freaking heart attack or something? We want, each one teach one is just so important. I could go into a whole rant, but I'm not. Go ahead.
So fortunately, I'm to my last slide so we can get to some questions, and I kept it simple. For Jewish folks, money equals power, and racial and cultural solidarity equals power, amongst other things. But these are probably the two biggest things that were emphasized in the book, right?
Marriage.
And the Black community as currently constituted, I mean, we have no chance to emulate Jews in this arena unless we have basically a renewed commitment to our shared identity as racial outsiders, which we used to have, right?
50,
I mean, honestly, when I think about integration, the civil rights movement, all that kind of stuff, like it was good in some respects, but in other respects, it kind of muddied the waters in that prior to that era, when things were kind of more overtly and directly drawn between you guys are those folks and we are these folks, right? I think there was more of a chance to make progress on the Black side of things than what we have now, right? Because now we have a lot of people in our community that wrestle with the notion of, is America being colorblind and should I swirl? And, I don't view myself.
Your attention is in the wrong place.
I don't view myself as Black. And, I hear all these kind of things. And
I'm Catholic, Tiger Woods. Tiger
So,
Woods looked so black the other day. I almost fell out laughing. He was out there golfing, looking super tanned.
and so, we would need to make deliberate attempts to build strong Black families and an economically strong community. So without that, we're just kind of whistling Dixie and just kind of lost. And we're seeing our wealth continue to dwindle. I think we're going to see our numbers continue to dwindle. And, I don't like how we're looking on a community level, even though I think there's opportunities out there for individuals to do all kind of great things.
Well, I'm more optimistic, and people on this channel know I'm probably way more optimistic than most, because I think it's because I focused. No worries, Shoshay. See you later. I focus my whole attention on conferences and events and putting myself around like-minded people. So a lot of times when I'm on O'Shea channel or other people's channels, they're like, "What are you talking about, Erica?" And I just laugh because I'm like, you guys are focusing your attention on Big Booty Betty at the bus stop who ain't got no money, and they think all of Black America is this person. And I'm like, no, stop.
Right.
So we have a ton of comments. Can you see the comments at all or no?
Actually, let me see if I can pull them up. Actually, give me a second.
So it's a ton in here, and I'm gonna go up to the top. I'm scared, but I'm gonna do it. Okay, you guys. Whew. Thank you guys for commenting. Thank you guys for putting likes and comments in there. Good Lord, you guys doing a great job. We got 150 people been coming in and out. 150 people here right now. Hit the like button. I know the number is bigger than that. Dr. Drew, there you go. Exactly, Erica Nicole. So see if you can if your computer will let you go all the way up, because
I'm
not letting me. Oh no. I'm sorry, you guys. I might have to pop out the chat so it can let me go back up. Yes, Dr. Drew is on there with Adam Carolla. Charles Ogilvy, it's his favorite book, the original. So yeah. Cam, Erica made a video called The Power of $100, Immigration and Wealth Creation, posted it in January. Watch it, let it grow. Facts. That was a good video. It actually ties into what we're talking about. Yeah, it won't let me roll all the way back up. But let me see some other comments here. So Fatima says, along with pursuing entrepreneurship, we need to support one another, intentional about cycling our money in our community. You there? You there, Mr. Meadows? Uh-oh. Mr. Meadows has frozen. All right, you guys. Well, we wait on Mr. Meadows to come back into the live. I'm going to go over some of y'all stuff you're talking about because he is straight frozen. Are you back, Mr. Meadows? You froze a little bit on us. Okay. So we keep going down. Carl Black. Okay, agree. All right. Brock B. Rock the Great Wilson said, being a hustler is a limited mindset. Being an owner entrepreneur is a completely different level. This I would agree with, B. Rock. I think that is part of the problem too. Is when I talk to people every day of the week, y'all. You know, I've been saying this for almost 5 years. Get that LLC, get that business bank account, get documentation going, get a CPA. I still have people call me and be like, Erica, I know, but I've been running my business for 3 years, and I did none of that, you know, and they're just running it under the train. You are back. We were worried about you. Okay. We're like, we lost you.
Okay,
you're back. So you didn't miss too many. I'll go from here. Now this is what B. Brock said. I just said it, and I'm sorry, I'm going to repeat it again for everybody. Being a hustler is a limited mindset. Being an owner / entrepreneur is a completely different level. Your thoughts on that?
Say that let's again about a hustle versus
a business owner. So a hustler is a limited mindset.
Yeah.
A business owner is a completely different level.
Yeah. Well, you know, a hustle is something by the very definition and connotation. It's usually short term, quick money, and not scalable, right?
Facts.
So that's the very antithesis of a real business. That is something that at least can operate while you're not there. It's scalable. It's leveraging other people and can be around for a long time. So it's exactly the opposite of a hustle.
Exactly. So Mentor Shelley said this, and I agree. We need way more entrepreneurs in every area, not just entertainment. Is you know, basically people stay in their lanes and create unique, successful enterprises. I think that's true. Yeah. We have just a ton of comments. I'm going through as much as I can, you guys. Cam, I think the savior complex might stem back to slavery, honestly. We need to detach from the norm and create our own upward mobility, be our own leaders. Your thoughts on that?
The savior complex. I mean, yes. And it can't be so singular either, right? I mean, for as great as folks like a MLK or a Malcolm or a Garvey and whatnot, it can't be so singular so that if that person falls off or does something dishonorable or corrupt or whatever, like, you know, we don't lose all that momentum. You know, we need to have so that's the thing. It's got to be more about attitudes and behaviors and, like I say, being on code that can kind of transcend a single person, you know?
Oh, for sure. Well, also, if you look at Asian supremacy, and I know people don't like this, and I've been holding back because I have several Asian friends who are interested, sometimes watch my YouTube channel. So they know me if I'm on here talking. They're like, I have one friend, his family owns restaurants, and then his uncles own restaurants. And then, like, you look up among the whole family, they own countless restaurants all over across the city. And they're very low key. Like, it's not even a flash thing. And eventually that goes into real estate. You know, eventually that goes into real estate. And I think people are kind of not paying attention, right? Because if you look at what's the name of that place? Smithfield Farms here in North Carolina, also in South Carolina, some of Georgia, they have been purchased by a Chinese conglomerate, right? Here in the United States. And eventually that meat will change because they don't eat the same type of hog we eat in America. And so their goal is eventually to make sure that a lot of that meat goes over to their country. And I think people sleep on that idea, like, oh, nothing's going to change, so what, they just own it. But you're giving money is power. And so many Black people get mad when you say money is power. They just sit here and go, no, Erica, it's not, money isn't power. And I go, you're missing the whole point of money. Money isn't for stunting. Are you there, Dr. Meadows? Did we lose you? I think Dr. Meadows is closer to the storm than we are. It's okay. We'll let him come back in. Cam said, Erica, maybe the MGTOWs have an ideal. No, you're wrong, Cam. MGTOWs, I really truly believe that, and I'm being careful because I know they're going to come for me. A lot of those men are going to be jumping off bridges. And I'm going to say that as nice as I can, because at the end of the day, legacy. I'm a big person on legacy and having a family and children. You're back, hey, Dr. Meadows?
Yeah, and for everybody out there, I'm in coastal Georgia here, and the storm is getting real because my internet went totally out, which it almost never does, and I hear rain splashing, but we're gonna keep with it as long as we can, for sure.
Yes. It's okay. He got his scrubs on, everything, y'all. He came prepared.
Yeah, I had a rough one today, man. That was crazy.
And for everybody asking, this is Dr. Kenyon Meadows. Am I saying your name wrong?
Yes, correct.
And he is the author of Alternative Financial Medicine. He is a doctor. He works with cancer patients. So a lot of people in the comments are like, who is this? Who is this? And I should have put it in the title better. Sorry.
Yeah. And I appreciate you sharing the link, I guess at the bottom of the description there. So if you guys want to learn about the stuff I invest in, crowdfunding, rental property, business loans, the whole nine. So investing is a real passion of mine. I appreciate the support, and definitely keep coming back and doing more shows. I do have a YouTube channel, Alternative Financial Medicine. I've taken to basically being on other people's platforms as opposed to building my own. I am seriously contemplating really starting to put out a lot more content. So I will encourage you guys to subscribe. We may do something like a mastermind group or something like that for the real serious folks. I'm not really looking for massive numbers. I'm looking for the kind of passionate few, and folks that have some assets too.
Oh, for sure. And Charles Ogilvie was in the comments, and some other people. Where's the other one? Oh, wow. Garcia Simpson said, this is interesting. Celebrities mask Black failure. Your thoughts on that?
That sounds like she has been listening to that
Tone Talks.
Yeah, I'm about to say that's a Tone and Yvette comment right there.
Oh man,
now, and I give them a lot of credit for making me think about things in a different light, right?
For sure.
To the extent that they get a lot of the media shine, right, and get a lot of mental mind share of Black success. Yeah, I mean, when you see that bombarded on you, right, it's easy to sort of dismiss the terrible poverty statistics that's going on in Black urban America, right? I mean, if we shone a light on that as prominently as we did on Black celebrity, I think a lot more people would be like, well, what are we going to do about this? These terrible social statistics, But it's like I said, it's easy to forget about that stuff when all you see is images of Black success. They're showing the 0.001%.
For sure, and I think also too the top 20% Black people and mainstream Black people who live in the suburbs every day are not got a camera following them around. And now people forget 51% of African Americans live in the suburbs and the rural areas, and their numbers are very conservative. Gun owning, church attending, savings, home ownership is higher. Not saying that's better. I'm just saying, we don't get the camera shine.
Right.
Everyday people that go to work and, they're not on the camera. And honestly, after working 3 years at H&R Block, the suppression of information, I'll just say it that way, the suppression of people's pay that they were really getting paid. Even my friend who works there still to this day, she's like, a lot of Hispanic people come in and they'll have 2, 3, 4 pay stubs. And then they put the information in. They're like, oh, no, take 2 of them away. Because they want to get a refund check, right? They have kids, and what ends up happening is, I think, I'm not going to say it's all undercounting. I think there's a lot of undercounting some people are doing, and I'll be careful.
All right,
and y'all give me listen. If y'all think I'm off on that, please put it in the comments right now. I definitely would love to hear your thoughts on that, because I'm just someone who's worked in taxes and know people are cray.
I'm considering doing an encore presentation of this show over on O'Shea's channel, which is definitely a
yeah.
he has a lot of guests on there that really embrace the interracial dating thing. So that should be an interesting
Well,
time.
and then when even you go on some of those shows, and I like O'Shea's show, but I think even the guys on there, it's an escapism. Because then when
Mhm.
you ask, are you going to marry some of these girls? Are you going to bring this girl back to America and marry her and have a family and be normal? Nah, I'm just going on vacation. I'm just going on vacation to have a good time. And you're like, how long does that last? Again, that's a no legacy position. So I just, it's hard for me to support that one. Let me see. Someone's made in the comments, I think it's Goddess Noel said, I have heard mothers say I put my son in sports so he can become a pro athlete and take care of me. Now, I will say, uh, in slight agreement, our friend Tim Jackson in Dallas, he had a business academy this summer. Instead of a sports one, he had a business one where the kids came and they looked at business stuff and they talked about, they came up with little ideals, and it was super neat. I saw it, and he struggled. He struggled, Dr. Meadows, in Dallas, Texas, in a very poor area to get kids there for free and get free food and
Uh-huh.
get free mentorship. And the moms were like, oh, no sports this year? Nah, no sports this year. Oh, isn't that crazy? Like, every other year he's got 300 kids because it's a sports related thing. This year it wasn't sports related. It was talking about business and school.
Well, that just speaks to again our esteem of athletes and entertainers over professionals and entrepreneurs. It speaks to that lottery ticket mentality, like the 2 out of 1,000 that'll make it. I'm sure I got one of them right here. So it's crazy, and it's not a recipe for community mass uplift and wealth building. It's not. And let's just keep it real too. I mean, suppose he does make it, right? And you take care of mom and everything. I mean, but
two
how
to
long
three
does that
years.
last? I
Two
mean,
to three years, average.
how many of those guys they wind up broke, and so I don't know. It's kind of crazy.
Let me see. There are so many comments, you guys. Somebody brought up 90 Day Fiance. Yes, Cam, that thing gets cracking me up. Let me see. Skipping that. Sorry, you guys, skipping some of this. Oh goodness, there's so many. Okay, hold on. Okay. Um. Okay, so take this. Listen to this. Rock and Roll Dina said, "It takes more than skin color to live with another human being in close quarters. Feel bad for those Jewish girls stuck with a man she doesn't love." Your thoughts on that, Dr. Meadows?
Right. Well, that sounds like this person is putting, I think a modern contextual spin on marriage, right? And this notion that this happiness and love thing is the primary thing. If you're gonna stay married to somebody for 50 years or something like that, I hate to say it, but that's really kind of an immature view of things in my view. I'm sorry. That is not taking into account the legacy factor, the covenant factor, which is kind of what marriage is supposed to be. So all those things, sicker, poorer, when things get rough and bad or whatever, it has very little to do with happiness. And yes, even the degree of love can wane. I mean, you talk to some people that's been in marriage for a long time. Even that level of love can fluctuate, but it can come back, like you said. So we got to put some more
Seasons of
meat.
life.
We got to put some more meat on the bones with our attitude about marriage. I mean, that 12% divorce rate amongst, like I said, the Jewish folks we quoted, that you got to have some other things compensating for just this happiness kind of thing.
Because
So
happy. Like, dude, it's got to be more than that. It's got to be more.
right.
So,
Absolutely.
a Cam made a comment. He said, I went to a Jewish university, and these are facts. All my Jewish friends were married almost immediately after their first job. And I'll tell people this, like, I was at FitCon, and I think you would have loved FitCon if you could go. All the black people at my table recently married. 27 to 32. All of them. Boom, 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 boom. And they were debt free, and they had degrees and different things. And I was sitting there like, oh, am I the only person at the table not married? It was like me and one other girl. And I was like, oh my goodness. And they were talking about taking their husband's last names and asking the men at the table what did they think. And they were like, well, it wasn't that big of a deal. My wife's a doctor. And this other guy was like, my wife is a nurse. I don't know. I don't care. She took my name after a while. And it was like mind blown. Like, I want to take a picture of all the black people at the table. Like, everybody at this table is married. There's a millionaire guy at the other end of the table. And then it's me and this other girl who's the only single girls left. Like, I wanted to broadcast that, but I didn't think that did FitCon a service. I just thought for black people it did a service.
Let's get on it, Erica.
I'm trying here. You know, he can't be crazy, okay? We need him to not be crazy down here.
The standards
got some crazy.
The standards too high up.
My friend's like, the man that marries you has to be busy. I'm like, that's right.
Yeah, amen to that, man. Amen to that.
Okay. So let's see. There's so many. Okay, here's another one. Oh, can you please tell people what kind of doctor you are, please?
I'm an oncologist, specifically a radiation oncologist. So I spend my days dealing with folks who have cancers. We heal a lot of them. Some of them we don't. It's a very rewarding gig. I love it, but I also love this stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you come on here. Somebody brought up banjos and Randy Jackson, which I wasn't gonna go there, but it's true. They both did recently get divorced. It is a big inhibitor. When you get divorced, you lose a lot of money. Randy Jackson's wife is actually getting half, $40 million. And she's a white lady. And, you know, it's a no for her, dog. It's a no. It's a no. She out the door with half. California love giving people half.
Hey, I'm praying. I'm 12 and a half years in, you know, I'm praying that we go the distance.
Hey, tell her you ain't going nowhere. I ain't going nowhere. You ain't going nowhere. You might as well pull up a new room.
Right. Well, listen, Erica, I actually got to jump off. This has been great. We will do something else for sure. And any other comments and whatnot, I'm going to come back and review them. And if anybody wants to contact me, you know, my site's Alternative Financial Medicine. You can write me through the YouTube channel as well. So anyway, I really appreciate you guys hanging out with us tonight. And I encourage you to pick up the Jewish Phenomenon book too. I mean, it's a great read, and I think it would be helpful to think about, you know, a mindset shift. Again, trying to emulate what most people would consider the most successful, at least monetary group in this country. And yeah, kind of go from there.
I'm sorry you're leaving. We have so many other questions. I'm going to stay on for another
a little bit. Yeah.
And try to answer some of y'all questions. I am sorry. Listen, Charles Ogilvie or Andre Hatchett, if you guys are watching, you can come on because there's some LLC questions. Somebody had some questions about an LLC over SOP and write-offs, but
okay,
you know, your time is valuable.
All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out.
Thank you so much for coming on, everybody. This is Dr. Meadows, author of Alternative Financial Medicine. Do you have a blog?
Actually, no longer, to be honest. Okay. I took it down. I'm just kind of promoting the book with this kind of stuff here. So okay. Yeah. All right.
So everybody, Dr. Meadows has got a roll. Tell everybody bye from the audience, Dr. Meadows.
Goodbye, audience.
Have a good night, Dr. Meadows. Thanks for coming on. Are you guys there? Let me see. Are you guys still here? This is Erica from the Classic Climb blog. Let me know if you guys can see me. Put a 1 in the comments if you can see me. Okay, you should still be able to see me. Now, there is a ton of comments, and I'm sorry, but Dr. Meadows is a doctor, y'all. When he got to go, he got to go. So we're going to get through some more of these comments because they're good. You guys did good tonight. Okay. Now, Jesse Bill did say the data on the black men, white women source was fake. Now, from my understanding, it's coming from the CDC stats. From everything I've seen, it's coming from the CDC stats. If it is not, you know, hopefully that's not the case. But, you know, Aaron Clary does a video on it. If I could get him on it, I totally would. So let me see what else we have here. Let's see. Yes, money equals freedom. Abid, I don't know how to say your name. Thank you, though, for watching. Blacks from the Caribbean are called West Indian. That's true. But I'm going to leave that be. Some of y'all can straighten that out for him. Cam said Asians proved that in Cali by buying all those mansions in California. Facts. There's a whole city in California. I've posted it on here several times. There's a couple videos on YouTube that are actually You cannot comment on them. The comments are absolutely blocked. You can't comment on it. And it shows where the mansions are, where the Asians are buying for their mistresses and their kids that go to college here. And the reason I did this is really their kids have been in associate's degrees for years, not really getting degrees, just being a millionaire's kid. Carl Black, they have money to pay for the permit just to go march. Right, Pearl? I mean, who's paying these permits to march and protest? Erica Nicole, in an interracial marriage, family didn't like it until we built something. Then they found respect. Okay, Erica Nicole, I see you, Army. Wink, wink. I know how them Army people be, them Air Force Army people. Money answers all things. Well, I wouldn't say all things, but I would say a lot of things. Jesse Bill, I'll have to check out that video, though, because Aaron Clary did a similar video, and Aaron Clary is very good on his stats. So money is your vote. That's very true. Ah, Tech NC. I see what you're saying. Local government is more official. Cam, facts. Cam. I tell people all the time who your local sheriff is, who your local judge is, who the local county commissioner and the tax guy, assessor in your county is more powerful than a lot of people. Because I know a guy right now who is a tax assessor. He was such a stickler about who he wanted his daughter to marry. It was crazy. And we were like, she ain't no looker. Okay. She was not a looker. And yes, I said that. I don't even feel bad about saying it. Every guy I knew was like, what's he being tough or difficult for? Look at her. And it's not even about that. It's about who your children marry and who they bring into your family. So. Oh, Chalk 844. They have money to back the political agenda that seems they deem important and back the politicians that will eventually get paid to them fight for their cause. Exactly. Maxine Waters. She ain't fighting for y'all. Some of the Camilla Harris, they are not fighting for y'all. Again, I told you about Houston, Texas. Some of the representatives, if I can find it, I'll see if I can say it to my phone. If y'all see it, help me out. Asian senator from Houston, Texas. Let's see if my phone will do it. It may not. It's acting like it can't recognize me. How dare it? So racist. He's a representative out of Houston, though. I know that's what he is. It's got to be Houston, Texas. Let's see. No. Jin Woo. Here it is. I found him, you guys. GENWU. Jin Woo, the Democratic member of Texas House of Representatives. He's from the University of Austin, law degree in South Texas College, Law of Houston. His children, of course, so he should be. Is that him or is that her? There's more than one. That's how big they're getting in Houston. But long story short, he was on TV crying about, how dare you try to get the illegal Asian people out of Houston with ICE. I mean, he was crying, y'all, with real tears on TV. It was on CNBC and CNC, and I'm like, are you kidding me? If they're illegal and they're African, yep, that's him. It looks like him. He was formerly a prosecutor of Harris County. He's 40 years old. He was born in China. 2 children. Yep. Him and one other Asian guy were on TV crying. I was like, you got to be kidding me. But who pays their bills? The small strip of Asians, which if you know anything about Houston, they have a Koreatown, they have a Chinatown and some other stuff. But that's who's paying him. 10,000 can get a politician to do way more for you than your vote ever will. Exactly. Amen. No tech. The reason why MJ Heger is running for Congress right now in Texas is because she was a veteran that was wounded, a woman pilot, and she could not get promoted because they didn't have women at a higher position because of danger and instructors and all this other rules. And so she good. She fought the Army. And the Army was like, well, okay, we can probably put her up and make her a pilot now. But she didn't want to do that. She was already injured. She wanted her congressman to why didn't her congressman answer her? And it was like, well, you're not one of our donors, so we're not going to listen to you. So she's running for Congress, and she has a kick-ass YouTube video ad of her. She has the freaking door off the plane she went down in her house. The door, y'all. Like, she survived this crash. She's a badass. I think it's awesome. So, again, $10,000 can probably buy her vote. Now, I'm not saying that exactly, but that's the reason she's fighting now. A lot of hoteps don't understand the power of raising your own social and financial class. Great points. Dude, if I could say anything else, hotep. These hoteps are smart guys who read a lot and they're well read, but not a lot of action. There's several YouTubers who are like in a basement arguing with people. And I'm like, why am I watching this dude in a basement argue about how women should respect him because he's a man and he in a basement? Somebody's basement. I can't take it. I just don't understand. And really the thing of it is, like, I was talking to this one guy and he was a millionaire, and he was just like talking about the level of calmness over him, right? Like he's tells people his point of view and he don't need to get loud with it. I just love that. So Carl Black said we simply refuse to get our money game up. The minute you start to talk about money with our people, all you hear is crickets. Woo, facts. People love telling me about getting a new car. People love telling me about getting a new car. I start saying I'll do this. I'm in finances. Oh, yeah. I just got this new car. I'm like, my job treat me well, and I'm like, why are we talking about cars? There are Jewish charities for low-income families here in NYC. Money equals power. Having us marked in the streets is a distraction from us being productive on increasing our financial power. I'm gonna have to wrap it up here in a little bit. We have little kids coming to the house. Yep, crickets, Carl Black. Yes, blacks have been the #1 free resource for giving people since the beginning. There's just no returns expected on everything we've done for everyone else. Hold on, you guys. We got a little one. We got a little wrangler in the house. Hold on a second. I have little people here who are visiting. I'm visiting the Carolinas. All right, so let's see. What's another one? We don't trust one another. We need a new mindset. Interesting. Somebody talking about pastors. I cannot even get into the whole conversation on pastors. I cannot. That'll be a whole nother YouTube video we save for another day, because I put it this way. I never go to churches that are don't have staff, don't have nonprofits they work with. Again, our church sends like tons of people over to Uganda every year, sends shoes. We do a lot of stuff. We actually work with a place that prevents abortions, and so when we work with them, we actually help provide these ladies like housing. And so again, I'm always very leery of how do y'all find these churches in the hood with these pulpit preachers, but I don't want to get too deep. We'll go on a whole nother tangent. Okay. Okay, I see what you're saying. Daryl Stevens, we can pull our money together, but we can't trust each other for 5 minutes. Wow. Carl Black, the key word there is commitment. We lack purpose. Okay, my Lord. Imagine the free Negro Loan Society. Not only would it collect no interest, you probably wouldn't get the principal back either. I can't. Goddess Noah, you need to stop it. Stop it. What else we got in here? We have too many butter my biscuits people. Oh my gosh, you guys are wow in these comment sections. Okay, let me see. Tiger doesn't look like he's made up of pet tie. I can't. Let me see what else I got in here. Thank you for posting my courses. Again, I'm only sharing the bundle 1 and 2 this week because there were several outpourings of emails of people saying, hey, please, give me one more week, a paycheck, whatever. And that's okay. Like, I understand it. At the same time, it's like, I hope you guys are using the courses and like spending a good hour, like studying, getting over with, and keeping it moving. Michael Watts, she is the first Black American on YouTube to talk like this. Ooh. Oh, Michael Watts, you're talking about mentality of islanders. Well, thank you, Michael Watts, I guess. What you focus on expands. We must focus on creating wealth, businesses, income producing assets for sure. Like I even like when I'm talking about Lending Club and Prosper and all these places that you can get money from, a lot of people look at it as a quick lick. And so it's like, nah, man, like don't be the person that defaults. on the payday loans and all the, not necessarily payday loans, but like the Prosper loans and the Lending Club loans. Like the system works so well because so many people are participating. And if you don't participate it, then okay, I see. What is the advantages of an LLC over sole proprietor biz? LLC gives you limited liability protection. A sole prop is literally just a DBA. You're doing business as this name and you're getting taxed. Now, some of the advantages too is when it comes to vendor credit, when it also comes to lawsuits and some other stuff. There's a lot of advantages. We've done several videos on it. You can probably go back and see some of those. But thank you for the super chat. Carl Black, we need Black leadership. Carl Black, I'm actually very much against the whole savior, Black people savior. I think each one teach one. And like, if the talent 10th really took off, we really only have a talent like 2-3%, we would be in a lot better position, right? Because if you think about it like this, one guy, 10 people that know him, the 10 people that know them, it really is a life changer. Like Lisa Phillips has a sister that has like multiple kids, but she couldn't really, like her son did something like shoplifting or something that was small, but shouldn't have done it. And he was in jail. And the people said, okay, well, just give us $250 and your son will go on out and he'll get his citation and he'll do this. He'll do his little volunteer time. The sister didn't even have $250. Lisa Phillips is a prominent YouTuber, a prominent person who has multiple rentals all over the United States. And yet her sister, who is close to her, did not have $250 and doesn't have any rentals. So it's one of those things of like, even if you have the talent at 10th, they have to affect the people around them in their circle. It starts with them. So. Okay, right. Exactly, man. Exactly, Cam. We love symbolism and symbolic victories. Good one, Daryl Stevens. Thank you, Cam. Brandon Jackson, I think a lot of it is people need more money. I mean, like Black people on a whole, if I could get literally I'm being really honest, I did this math and I don't know if I have an old video still up, but if you just had one, okay, so you have 2.5 million Black business firms that do over, I think, $105 trillion. It's on the blackdemographics.com site. You can post it up, Cam or somebody, blackdemographics.com, and CDC stats. So out of those 2.5 million that own the business firms that are, and use a lot of them are construction, healthcare. They're not barbecues and restaurants and fish fries and all that stuff. They're actual businesses, which those are businesses too, but I'm talking about brick and mortar, different type of things. If all those people hired two black people a piece additional, like starting tomorrow, okay, times 2, that'd be 5 million Black people hired, plus the 2.5 million that own the businesses. That's 7 million Black people right there taken out of any type of poverty, any type of lack of income. Now, of course, these companies are paying high money. And I say that all the time. People are like, oh, Erica. But the bulk of Black businesses is one business owner. So that's just one way to think about it. If every one of those people hired 2 more Black people. Wow. Interesting, NC Administrative Consulting. I'm not going to go too far on the MGTOWs. I will think that a lot of them did suffer horrible divorces and horrible things did happen to them, but that even speaks to getting counseling. Again, my whole theory is if I take half your money, if you're a man and you're making all this money and I take half your money in your house and you're in destitute poverty, then that means you're already poor, correct? Oh, that's cool. Hey, Charles Ogilby. Charles Ogilby's joining us for a bit, you guys. Charles, thank you for joining us. I was just going to say if you had anything to add to our good show we did today.
Man,
I feel like you have some jewels you could just drop up in here. Because I think you read this book too. You like this book as well.
Yeah. I read Jewish Phenomenon twice. And I think the biggest thing that I take away from that book, give me 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on.
I want to make sure you're right. Yeah.
So the biggest thing I take away from that book is I like that book because in a lot of instances, people will say, "Oh, we're so oppressed, or we're struggling. They've done this to us. They've done that to us." But what's really cool is like the Jewish community shows all the things that you can put together, all the things that you can focus on, all the things that you can kind of put together to overcome those obstacles in your path. And so it speaks to me because a lot of people think that the wealthiest people in America are Caucasian people, when in reality, if you look across the board, like dollar for dollar, it's typically the Jews. And so you look at like all the hard stances they take. And I think that's one of the most important things, is taking those hard stances. It's not going to be well read up being a lot more lucrative. An example is the conversation that Dr. Meadows was having about just sports. And he was saying, like, in our community, we tend to celebrate sports, but if you look at the numbers, if you look at the odds, the numbers aren't in your favor. And I think that is interesting to me because you have so many people that will sprint towards something where the numbers suck. And like you said, it is a lottery. It is, you guys are hoping to get a lot for a little. And I've seen people that will do the same thing when it comes to investing, when it comes to stocks, when it comes to all these things. We're looking for the quick flip. We're looking to get something really, really fast instead of playing that long game, that long for sure. Because think about it. If you go into business, it might take you 10, 15 years to be massively successful, but a lot of people think they can just play sports and get rich overnight. So I think that you have to take that long approach, that for sure approach. And the interesting thing about it is you only really have to do it once. After you do it, your kids walk into it. Your kids inherit it. I think you guys are talking about life insurance, or maybe that was a different conversation I was following, but just a great book. It's so funny. I woke up and I was going to post that whole successful people are professionals and entrepreneurs, because that's one of the principles I took from that book. It's one of the principles that I practice. Selectively frugal, or prudently frugal, selectively extravagant. All those principles, they work, and they work whether you're Jewish, they work whether you're Asian, they work whether you're Hispanic, they work. And another thing that I was thinking about when I was listening to you guys talk is a lot of times we put a lot of emphasis on the Jews, but we don't realize like Asians do the same thing. They take the same hard stances. They focus on professional careers and entrepreneurship. If you look at Nigerians, they do the same thing. They take hard stances. They focus on professional careers. They don't come over here and do nonsense. If they do nonsense, they typically do it after they've handled business. I have a Nigerian friend who went to school, got an MBA, got a degree in finance, and then after he runs a bank, he is a branch manager at Wells Fargo. Now he's like, you know what? Maybe I can rap on the side if I desire. But he didn't just set out to be a rapper. He accomplished what he needed to accomplish because it was what was expected in his family, and then he went on to pursue his dreams. So I think that in the culture, we really got to start taking those hard stances. It's great to be nice to people. It's great to do what you love, what you're passionate about. But at a certain point in time, you got to say, hey, we're losing. How can we get out of this? How can we put that to the forefront and just make sure we do that work to get to where we need to get to, and not just keep kicking the can, blaming other people when we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. So every chapter, everybody I tell everybody to read that book, because it's like, if you have a victim mindset and you read that book, you look at like it was recent. This was 400 years ago that they went through their Holocaust. A lot of these people are first gen, second gen, and we're fourth, fifth, sixth gen over here still complaining. Like, I don't know, but I'm really passionate about that book. I refer that book to almost anybody because any excuse you have, they basically have found a solution out of it. Another example is just how they do their banking system, how they have that Jewish Free Loan Society, where you're not necessarily trying to make money off of your brother. You want to see them elevate. You want to see them win, because when they win, then you win. If you have more successful people to do business with, you can do bigger business, which means you can make more money. So they're pushing them towards education. They're pushing them towards entrepreneurship. They're encouraging not to spend money on dumb stuff. I think that it's like it's foolish to complain in Louis Vuitton. It's foolish to complain in Gucci. It's foolish to complain while you say you're following your passion on vacation. So that's my take.
I have this really great thing. I'm going to share it with you guys, but it's on Wikipedia. Can you hear me?
I have to go though.
Oh, go ahead, Charles. Thank you for stopping by, though. I appreciate it.
Yes.
But it's going to go right in tide what you talked about. Okay, can y'all see me? Hopefully y'all can see me. And this is going to be my last takeaway, and I'm going to wrap it up. If you guys can see me, put a 1 in the comments. Make sure we can all see me. Here it is. Okay, you guys ready? Look this up on Wikipedia. List of ethnic groups in the United States by household income. Now, if you look at the first part, by race, you're going to be disappointed. Don't get upset, though. It's 1 through 8. Indians are first, Asian, white, then all households. Okay, then Native Americans, Hispanic, some other race, American Indian, and of course, last is blacks. Now, I want you guys to go click the second button, which is by ancestry. This is a key word. American Indian is one. Number 2 is Jewish American. So I'm actually posting both these screenshots to YouTube and to my blog. So he's right. Indian American is number 1. Jewish American is number 2. Australian American is number 3. Filipino American is number 5. Again, this is why I said it's very important that Reginald Lewis' wife, who is this co-creator of the Filipino Association, it's important that because they've gotten that high up. British American, Australian, Russian, so many people, you guys, Lebanese, Chinese Americans, number 19. Let me see, Iranian, Italian Americans, Greek Americans, Slavic. I mean, it gets wow up in here. Hungarian, Portuguese, all these groups are up above. Korean Americans are at 48. Their minimum income is 66,000. But Nigerians are a little bit after the Koreans. You guys have to see this. You have to go on to Wikipedia and check this out. So I'm going to roll out. I just thought this was so important to share with you guys. So Todd Investments rolled out. But yes, Todd Investments is a great way to pull your money together. So again, Daryl Stevens, not affected by gerrymandering and redlining. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in another video. So Jewish power. Oh, we're 98. Did you look us up? African American. Yeah. African American is 98. And then the lowest is 103. Salvadorian Americans. We don't got that many Salvadorians Americans here. Somalians, Hondurans, Dominicans. Now, even the Native American thing, it's not even casinos. Where I'm from in Robinson County, the county below us, that's right now suffering very through high poverty, have the most American Indian millionaires in the whole United States. And there's no casino in Robinson County. Guess what they own? Trucking companies. Trucking companies. Trucking companies. One of the biggest, almost a billionaire, she could have been a billionaire until she got divorced, is a woman who owns a Native American woman who owns a trucking company in Wisconsin. And she said she just got tired of seeing all these sad, Native American guys not with no job. And she would hire them. And that's how she became one of the biggest companies out there. So we'll go over this the next time we're live. We're going to go ahead and go. But I just want you guys to see that. And even if you click the Native American group by tribe, Chickasaw, Choctaw, I mean, it's really good. Lumbee Indians are up there. I mean, it's really, I think they did a great job. Go see this. If you get a chance, you'll really enjoy it. So Daryl Stevens, we never deny structural obstacles exist, but we also talk about choices. So again, Daryl Stevens, thank you for your Tone Talk expositions. We appreciate them. Again, if anybody didn't get the first or second bundle, Cam put them in the links. They're also going to be in the links below. Thank you for coming out tonight. Make sure you hit that like button before you leave out. And you guys have an awesome night. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Again, if you haven't got this book, it is the Smartphone Millionaire book, How to Invest in Real Estate, Land, and People. Part 2 is coming out sometime in December, January. I'm trying to get it out for Christmas. But the editor I hired, we need a lot of work. So we got to put in, there's like 50 more pages we want to put in there. And we just want to reword a bunch. So we got to get it going. So thank you guys. Thanks, Charles Obi. And thank the doctor for coming through. You guys have been awesome tonight. Thank you so much. The comments have been on point. So everybody, this is Erica, the Classy Climb blog. See you guys later.